Hi everyone, and welcome to another video of Terraform. My name is Tia from DevOps Easy Learning, and today we'll be going through Terraform Console Part 4, which means we kind of went through Terraform Console Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 so far. And I will make sure that I'll put the link to those video in the description of this one, right? If you want to go ahead and watch and see what happened there, you are more than welcome to do so. Now, sorry. If you click this gear icon here, it's going to open the GitHub repository that we are going to use here for this little hands-on, right? And I will also make sure that I put the link to this GitHub repository in the description of this video, right? So that you can go ahead and check it out, and you can clone the repository down and do whatever you want to do with it. It is also a public repository, right? And so far, what I've done already, I've cloned the repository and I navigate to this specific folder already, where we'll be doing this hands-on. That means I open this Terraform console already, and we'll be using this one here, kind of called a lookup function, right? This will kind of help you a little bit to understand how to use the lookup function in Terraform and how to evaluate expression using lookup function, because Terraform console is used to do what? To evaluate some Terraform expression that you want to use, so that before you trigger Terraform, you know exactly what it's going to do. Now, if you open my VS Code, like I mentioned earlier, I am here already and we'll be using the lookup function. If you click here, you guys will see here that I basically set up just a variable. That variable is called tab any, and in here we have a default where we set some dummy stuff here that we'll be using, and also we have a tag, and we'll be using a lookup function here to kind of grab some values that we want. And I did one with the element function. I use the element function here to get all the value that I want, and in this little example, I will be using the lookup function to get all the elements that you want. I mean, that's up to you. Let's say if you want to write your Terraform configuration file, you can either use the element function or the lookup function and look up this variable any and get the value that you want. Now, let me go ahead and open this one to the site. I like to kind of open it here, and I'll open this one to the site. And what I'm going to do, I'll close this. I'll also open this one in new integrated terminal, so that it will put me straight in the path where I have all this. And I will go ahead here and type Terraform init and initialize this. That is fine. And I will type Terraform console to move to the Terraform console CLI, so that I can evaluate some expressions. Now, here, I have this. I am seeing here a lookup function. That's how the lookup function looks like. We use a lookup. We say var.context. var.context means var.context is this. We are trying to look up the EKS underscore ID, which means we are trying to look up the EKS cluster underscore ID. That means this name. And if it is not set, we'll just say not set. That means we can also say, hey, the default value. Let's say we don't find this. We just say that is not set, right? That is something that the lookup function basically has, and we can see this with the element function, because here, let's say I check it, it's not there. I can kind of say, hey, it looks like it's not set. Let me go ahead and copy this. This is set already, which means it will go ahead and just print it. As you guys can see here, it gave me the name. Now, let me exit out of here a little bit, because I'm going to make a modification. Let's say this wasn't set. I comment this thing out. And let me go to Terraform console one more time. And I'm going to evaluate the same expression, as you guys can see. Not set, which is really great. Let's say I'm doing something in case that somebody didn't set anything. That is to say, hey, that value is not set, right? And on the next video, we'll use the element function, but we're kind of trying to set a default value. If, let's say, a user did not put something, what can be the default value? And we'll see how to do that, but not in this one. Now, in the same way, I can go ahead and kind of evaluate other expression. Let me copy this, and those are set already. If you paste it here and hit enter, as you guys can see, we have the VPC ID, we have the cluster ID. Now, how are we going to kind of look of the private subnet, we can actually go ahead and say var.context and here the private subnet. But I'm going to grab every single element. That means the first element, the second element, and the third element. Let me try to evaluate this, and we'll see what will be the outcome of this. What will be the result? Let's see, you want to get all private subnet and put all those private subnet in terms of a list. How can you get those using the lookup function? You say, okay, I want the var.context in there. I'm getting the private subnet, and I want those to be a list. As soon as you hit enter, it take everything and put it in terms of list. Let me go ahead and paste the same again. As you guys can see, another one, I will take it and kind of say, hey, I want to convert that into a map. Look here, if you take this with the lookup function and we are trying to look at public subnet and we're trying to convert this into a map, what will be, how is it going to be printed? Let us see here. As you guys can see, it take everything, even though we define it here out. This one, first of all, it is a map. Yep. And that is why you need to make sure if this is a list, you put a list. If it is a map, you put a map. And I kind of change this one so that you guys can see the difference. We define this one, the private subnet in terms of list, and we define the public subnet in terms of map. As you guys can see, if you want to get all the private subnet, you punch it and say, hey, it is a list, and it will grab everything. This is very useful where, let's say you want to create an EKS cluster, for instance, and in there, you guys, as you guys can know, you must put at least 2 subnets. At least 2 subnets is required. How are you going to do that? Let's say you have your 3 subnet. What are you going to do? You can just go ahead and use this one because this is very, very useful. Subnet 1, subnet 2, and subnet 3. Subnet 1, because you define this one as a map, and you can put the subnet 1, the subnet 2, and the subnet 3. How can you get all those subnet at once and punch all of them? You can basically use a syntax like this one, which is just a lookup function. You look up all the elements and you get all those elements. If you want those in terms of a map, you can go ahead and define it in terms of map. It's up to you based on what you want to do and so on. And if you copy this, you'll be able to get all the elements here in terms of map. If you just want to go ahead and get some specific value, let's say you want to get subnet 1 or subnet 2, same thing, that you can also do it with the element function. You can do it with also the lookup function. If you copy this, this is the way that you can evaluate, and that is how you are going to get those subnets. It looks like we kind of run into one issue. Let me go ahead and copy just this one. And I will go ahead and paste it here and evaluate just one. Inappropriate. It is not kind of working, which means the lookup function might not work in this case properly. And let me test it also with the one that we set it with the map. Copy one, and I'm going to paste it here. It is not working properly. That means when I set this up, there should be something that is basically wrong, and I'm going to check this one again one more time. But let us go ahead here and kind of move on and see if we still have something here. Let's say we want to get the tags also using the lookup function. We want to get some elements here. We will say var.context. var.context is this, and we move on with the next thing. What is that? We want to get to the tag, and we want to get all elements in the tag. That means the star mean all elements. If you take this and copy and paste it here and hit enter, as you guys can see here, it did not print anything. Let me go ahead and do this. Why? Because the map, first of all, the tag, we defined the tag to be a map. We didn't define the tag to be what? A list, right? That is why this is correct. And this is not kind of printing anything because this is not a list. This is a map with a key value pair. And let us see a lookup function. Let's say we want to get the cloud provider, which will be AWS. If I copy this and punch it here, we should be seeing here AWS, right? And if this is not set, for instance, it will just say not set. And you can do the same for other stuff. I can just copy and I will paste it here, and I'll paste it here and hit enter. As you guys can see, Dell, which is what? The team. If you check here, the team here, it is exactly Dell, right? I'll go ahead, the one that we have up here, I will kind of check the syntax again one more time. It look like this is not the right syntax here. I'll check it again one more time, right? But that is the way that you can use a lookup function to kind of get the element that you want here. Okay, as I see. As you guys can see here, this is not going to work with a lookup function. I know. I tested that before, it didn't work. And that is why when you are here, if you want to get those stuff, instead of using the lookup function, please use the element function. And that is why I put those here. If you paste it here with the lookup function, you think that it's going to work, but Terraform didn't like it. And that is why I tried to mimic exactly what trying to mimic something that I use here to kind of get all the elements here, right? All the elements here in the list. And I was thinking that by doing that also, by doing that, the same thing with the lookup function, it is going to work. But unfortunately, it didn't. And that is why I strongly advise you to use what? To basically use the element function in this case. If you want to get the first element in the list, the second element in the list, the third element in the list, and so on. You can go ahead, or if you don't want to use the element function, please go ahead and use the var.context.private.subnet, and you get 0, you get 1, you get 2, and so on. So give you the first element, the second element, and the third element, because this one is not going to work as expected. And that is why I put it in there so that I will run it. It is going to fail, and I will take this opportunity to explain why. And if you run this, you guys will see. If you paste it, I'm going to get those subnet, which is great, right? What is the takeaway here? The takeaway here is like, let's say you want to get all subnets. If you want to get it and print it in terms of list, that is the syntax. If you want to get based on the index position, you can use all this and get the one that you want. And if you define those subnet as a map and you want to get every single element in that map, you can use this lookup function, right? And this also, it is not going to work based on what I just explained, right? And this one, I think this is going to work. If I copy this and I paste it here, evaluate this expression, that works. Copy this one, paste it, and evaluate the expression. As you guys can see, that works. This is going to work, but it's going to print something. It's going to print, if you just use the values and var.context.public.subnet, this is going to work. And I basically use this one a lot because let's say when you want to create maybe an EKS cluster, they require you to put at least 3 subnet, that should be in terms of list, right? And in terms of list, you need to put subnet 1, subnet 2, and subnet 3. And if you define your subnets like this, if you define your subnet like this, if you define it like this one here, and the one that we use here, it is the private subnet. Let me make sure the one that I copy. This is the public subnet. The public subnet here was defined in terms of what? In terms of map here. And if you want to get all elements within this map and convert that into a list, you can use value. This is very, very technical, guys. And I use this one myself. I can paste it here. It will kind of get everything and put it in terms of list. And let's say I get where I want to put all the subnet to create my EKS cluster. If it is a private subnet, I set my private subnet in terms of a key value pair. I set it to be a map here in terms of a key value pair. And when I want to get all the value, I basically use this syntax here to get all the value instead of struggling on how I'm going to do that like this one, like var.context.private subnet 1, var.context.private subnet 2, var.context.private subnet 3, and I'll go ahead and wrap this one to be a list and make sure that I use a comma to separate everything, right? I can go ahead and do so. It's going to pick everything. But if you want to do it professionally, you can use this one so that you will not write a lot of block of code like this, right? But just this one line of code is okay. Or you can go ahead and say, hey, you want to get a list. How are you going to do that? That will be a list just like this. And within the list, you have all these three elements, and in here, you need to put comma here for the first element, comma here for the second element. And that will go ahead and get all the lists for the private subnet. But let's say you don't want to write it like that. You can go ahead here and just use these little tips here, which is this one. You can go ahead and use these little tips here, and you change everything here to private subnet, and it will go ahead and get private subnet. If you change this one instead of public, and I put private, it's going to get everything private. Hit enter. Oh, oops. Yes, this is not going to work also. You need to pay close attention, and you need to be very, very careful, right? Why? Why it's not going to work? This syntax only works if your public subnet, you define it in terms of map, which is a key value pair. This was defined here in terms of list. This was defined here in terms of list. And if you want to use the value, it's not going to work. If you want that to work, make sure that you define this thing in terms of map that will have a key value pair, that will have subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 3, and so on. If you change this, let's say if you copy this from here to here, and I change this and define this to be a map instead of a list, and I use this particular syntax here, it is going to work. But if you don't change this, it is not going to work. And if you want, just go home and try it. Define this one to be a map with a key value pair, and you go ahead and evaluate the private subnet with this, and you'll see that it will print everything out. Excuse me. You see that will print everything out. I hope this video was really informative. If yes, please let me know in the comment below. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and do so that when we publish a new video, you will be notified. And also, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and so on. That's it for this video. Thank you. Bye-bye.